Goedenavond iedereen. Ik hoop dat jullie evenveel van Eyimofe hebben genoten als ik. Ik spreek nu met Arie en Chuko en Esiri. Dat zijn de twee regisseurs van de film. Hopelijk komen we nog meer te weten over deze heel mooie film en over het hele mooie land, interessante land waar deze film zich afspeelt. Hello Chuko, hello Arie. Welcome in this virtual space where we can talk about the movie. It's probably the only way we can meet each other right now because we're at different parts of the world. Could you tell me where you are right now?
I am in a small town southeast of Lagos called Abraka.
And I am in a big city across the other side of the Atlantic from Lagos called New York.
All right. I am in Ghent, as you know. I'm not that far from the people who watch the movie right now. So I think I'm the least exciting at this moment. But still, I really enjoyed your movie. I think it's a very warm movie, and despite the struggles of the characters, I also found it a very funny movie. It's very vibrant, and I really love the colors and the warmth in the images. I think I read that you shot the movie on 35mm film.
We shot it on 16.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you make that choice? Why did you want to do that?
Well, I have been shooting on film, mostly 16mm for the past 2 years, almost exclusively. Quite frankly, because I think it needs to be preserved. I think it's also the best technology that there is still, as far as photographing moving images is concerned. I'd say the same for still, actually. But, a big part of it was to just make Lagos feel like it does in real life, to be able to pick up on its character, to photograph these people with a certain degree of intimacy as well was something that was important to us. We shoot in the traditional format, or this traditional aspect ratio of 16, which lends itself well to portraiture. So intimacy was a big part of that decision. The idea of also contributing to an archive that was on film was something that was important to us. A lot of the film references that we had were movies that were shot on film on 35, and the fact that we could just make Lagos a part of an archive that felt indelible to us was really important. So you can add to that if you want.
I have nothing. Yeah, no. I mean, I have nothing to add to that. But it was really that. I think there were intellectual or romantic reasons why, but fundamentally, it's a part of the world that all the film footage of Lagos and Nigeria that exists is sort of archival and not cinematic. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to, as Arie said, contribute to this larger, greater collection of great cities captured in cinema.
Mm-hmm. Arie, you talked about this kind of intimacy that you wanted to capture. I also felt like when I watched the movie, I felt like it's kind of a love letter to Lagos, but at the same time I felt that Lagos is a city that's kind of hard to love because the characters are struggling. They're not having an easy life. Could you tell me something more about this complex love relationship with the city?
Yeah, it's just it's a really vibrant place. We really wanted that to be present in the film. We often say Lagos is the third character in this movie, the third protagonist, and you know, I think the manner in which we went about shooting it, where we were sort of staging the scenes in front of real life, letting real life happen behind it, which not choreographed, you know, very few extras, just like the city is constantly moving in the frame, was something that we felt would translate this feeling of what is a very complicated relationship with a place that is just nonstop. There's never a dull moment in Lagos, and I think our character's journey, what they do is to sort of highlight some of the Byzantine ways in which things still happen, and the frustrations that we have due to infrastructure, and a lack of governmental support. But you know, it doesn't stop people native to the city from excelling or being vibrant, or you know, just giving it their best. But you're very, very right. It's a complicated love-hate relationship. But I would say that we do not, the any irritation is not to the physical place, but the way in which it's managed.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very much that. It's going to be a very dull interview if I keep agreeing with Arie. Now you know how it works on set. It's very much that. I mean, obviously, I choose to live and be here for a reason, and part of that is, despite the mismanagement and despite it sort of crumbling along the sides, there's this really magnificent heart on the inside. If we were a person, we'd be in an abusive relationship of some sorts, but there's a good person on the inside, and that comes across very much in the communal nature of the people, and also just in their willingness to just sort of roll your sleeves up and get on with it, and that's sort of always inspiring. It really doesn't matter what kind of situation you're in. There's, you know, it's a city of about 22-25 million people, and everyone's sort of just rolling their sleeves up and finding a way. But that doesn't, there's struggles, as you said, but and I'm glad that you picked up on some of the humor, because we're also, you know, there's a famous fella song called Suffering and Smiling, and that's kind of how, you know, if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. So there's this wonderful resilience about the place, but the frustrations are very real, and they're very much there, and the hope is that they get less and less and less. They get less as, you know, things change, but Lagos has been around, it'll still be around.
Mm-hmm. Chuko, you said something about communal nature of the people, and in the beginning, in the introduction, you've also mentioned that this is a movie about family. Of course, it's about family. We see that Rosa takes care of her sister. We see that Mofe has his special family around him. Special is, I say special because it's not a nuclear family, like we know it, mother, father, a couple of children, and they both have like their family is very different from the nuclear family. Is this a choice you made on purpose, or it just happened?
Well, it's a presentation of how it actually is. You know, oftentimes you'll go to places, and it'll be grandparent, nephew, cousin, because you obviously, a lot of people have migrated to it stems from a number of people migrating to the city. So when one migrates and they set up roots, and they're in a position where they can help or take care of someone back in the village, they make the phone call and they say, okay, you know, send my cousin over, or send my nephew over, and then they come along, and everyone's living their lives, and everyone contributes and puts a part in. So it's it's very much that you're responsible for, everyone is responsible to everyone in their families. And so you end up with this, as you said, not a traditional nuclear family where you got, people from different sides, in-laws, and they're all sort of floating around the same, floating under the same roof.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as the people just saw at home, the movie consists in about, I don't know, 2 chapters. One is called Spain, one is called Italy, and an epilogue. I felt like this movie is a migration story, but it has no real migrants in it, because Rosa and Mofe, they decide to stay in Lagos. Could you tell me something more about that choice, about that story? Is it something that happens a lot? Have you seen it happen, or?
Well, naturally, with the number of people that are migrating, for every 5 that make it out, 5 don't, for one reason or another. And then, we have some stories of individuals that thought they wanted to migrate. They actually make it across the ocean or sea to wherever they were supposed to be, and they decide that, no, this was a big mistake, and then they come back. But at the center of this choice to tell a migration story without migration is that the discourse around it, certainly through film, or through film and television, because also with the news, the discourse around it has very much been one of extremes. It's about crossing the desert, or swimming in the sea, or it's people serried into these camps, and at no point do you actually recognize or see them as people. And we really wanted to tell the story of their lives, and really wanted to present the people, so that if you do find yourself watching a news story and you see people, and you see a number of individuals with the life jackets around them, struggling for a space, or if you do or if you do come across a migrant wherever you live, that a small part of you at least considers or thinks about them as individuals that have complete full lives, wherever they've come from, and they've made a decision, and it's not an easy one, because you leave a lot behind. They've made a decision to pursue a better life in order to help those that they've left. But that was really at the heart of telling this reverse migration story, was at the heart of it. We really wanted to present migrants, particularly African migrants, as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Arie.
Is there something you want to add? I think you're still.
Oh, I'm on mute. But no, I completely agree with Chuko. I think at the heart of it is just what he said at the end. It was very important for us to humanize the people that we meet on the boats, or in the centers on the borders of the Mediterranean, on whichever side it may be, Algeria or Spain. It was very important for us to humanize them and understand what is pushing them out, understand that these are really big sacrifices that they're making for the betterment of themselves and their families, and it's not decisions that are taken lightly.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, I think I know the answer already, but I really wanted to ask you this question. I wonder why Mofe and Rosa decide to stay where they are, and not to take the big step and follow it. I kind of feel when I watched the movie that their dream was to go to Spain and to Italy, but then they decide to stay. And when I see the film, I understand why, but I really wanted to ask you why.
For me, it was mainly because the things you're looking for exist where you are. That's especially the case with Moffat. Circumstances in life push him to a point where he's able to actually build the life that he thought existed on the other side. And that was really it. It's just that, like I mentioned earlier on, I'm acquainted with people that have left and they get to the other end, and a lot of them are very lonely, and it's new and it's difficult, and they end up coming back. But Nigeria is a very hard place, so it's hard, so it's difficult to see through the haze and the fog of just frustration that there is an opportunity and that you can achieve whatever that goal is. And that was why they remained. It's the grass isn't always green on the other side. There are green patches where you are. They're just difficult to find.
But of course, it's different for Rosa, and it's always different for women in general, who are very vulnerable, or who are even more vulnerable when put in vulnerable situations back home in particular. I think we felt that it was important to not trivialize that and understand that there are big compromises that someone in Rosa's position has to make, as opposed to Moffat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the end of the film, I felt like Moffat really found a little bit of freedom in his shop and in the way he acts with his family and with wisdom, and he found his freedom and his happiness. But with Rosa, it felt more. The outcome for her was a little bit harder for me, because I didn't really feel like she found freedom for herself. She just tried to find it while making herself less free in a way.
Yeah, I mean, well, Rosa makes the ultimate sacrifice for Grace. Mm-hmm. That was always the plan, was that Grace gets more opportunity, a better opportunity than me. As her journey goes along and as things come across, well, she's given an ultimatum basically of a really horrible of bondage, human bondage and the rest of it on the other side of the Mediterranean. Or she takes this decision to, you're completely right, she is going to be, she's not as free, but it's a decision she gets to make for herself. And in doing so, she completely liberates her sister, which was what she wanted. So as Arie said, it's different, and that was part of it, was highlighting the different options, young and older, and the different genders, the different options they have, and how restrictive it can be here, especially for a young woman. So that was it. But the hope is that, at least in my continued version, Grace gets to go to a great school and does well and learn some life lessons, and she gets to be free and gets to thrive, gets to do everything Rosa didn't get.
Mm-hmm. All right. I found it very interesting that the paths of Moffat and Rosa only crossed 1 or 2 times via Grace, when Moffat was working on the fridge, and then the first time in the at the doctor's. Why did you want to tell the story like this? Why did you keep the stories kind of separate and they only crossed once?
It was really, there were drafts in which they were more interconnected and closer. And one of the notes Arie gave me was that it felt small, because Lagos is by even as a simple thing, by moving Rosa and Grace out of the same building as Moffat into another building in the neighborhood, but they share a landlord. It makes the world much larger. I was also reading at the time I was writing, I was reading a book by Charles Dickens called Bleak House, and he does a really amazing, phenomenal job of giving each location specific characteristics. And throughout the novel, characters, like ships passing at night, they just cross each other and touch each other in these unexpected ways. And that was sort of part of the idea. I really wanted to, both are going through different experiences, both are having very different experiences of migration, both are very different people, just, you know, polar opposites in terms of gender and age. And by giving them a bit of distance, it added a scale to what is, you know, ostensibly a small film. So that was a big part of it. We wanted to make it, it's not just one building and it's happening with these people, it's happening with all these people. And the idea is, you know, there are multitudes of Moffers and Roses, and this sort of story is occurring in neighborhoods across the city.
All right. Arie, is there something you want to add to this? Or?
No, it was just that I gave Chuko that note earlier on and he changed it and I'm happy.
That was something else I wanted to ask you both. How do you work together? What's the how are the roles?
Yeah,
I don't know how to finish the sentence, but I think
sure.
you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no. Well, Chuko and I came to film through different paths. I came to film through camera and photography, and Chuko came in through literature. So both storytellers using different formats, and then we sort of melded our interest and taste into this beautiful art that is cinema. But what that means is that I tend to be most of the visual responsibilities of the film fell on my shoulders. So you know, you would often find me with the DP and the production designer on set, particularly in pre-production. And Chuko would spend a lot of time with the actors, sort of building character, and just honing in an approach from a story standpoint, how he wanted the actors to deliver that. But we would come together at the end of each of our pre-production days and share notes. So we went into production with an understanding of how we were going to how we're going to build the language of the film, both through performance and through photography. But yeah, that's generally it. But Chuko is also the writer on this project, and he did about 13 drafts, and I read every single one of them, and always had something to say. But that's it really, in a nutshell. Would you agree, Chuko?
Yeah, I'd say so. And it's sort of like, as you said, it was very much that way with pre-production and very much that way on set. But after sort of when you fall into a rhythm, as you do on every film, you know, we kind of know, we establish what the visual language is, we established who the characters are. Then we sort of had this symbiotic thing whereby an actor could get a note from either one of us, and you know, there are times I'm at the you know, we're sat by the monitor, and you know, I'll say something and I'm just too lazy to get up and go over there, so Arie will volunteer to go give the note and vice versa, and it kind of sort of worked. It kind of sort of ended up being this thing where it's two heads on one body, if you want.
All right. So I think that sounds like great teamwork.
Until editing. Until editing, it was all smooth until editing.
Then
Yeah,
it
I
all
think
went wrong.
I think that was the first time we had two heads on two bodies. But
So how did you manage to deliver a movie after the editing process?
well, we had a wonderful editor called Andrew Stephen Lee, and it's kind of like being on a high court or a Supreme Court. There are three judges, and there's going to be a deciding vote. So, but it's, yeah, it's that way because, you know, I think editing's a very different process and a different part of different part of filmmaking. But I would say that was the only time when we clashed. I don't really remember anything on set or pre-production that was like, you know, no big disagreements or no big no big debates as to why this and not that. Whereas in editing, it was very much that. But yeah, this is why I don't know how the Coen brothers edit their films, if it's just the two of them in the room. But this is why you have a neutral and also a very gifted partner to work with. But that's kind of how it worked. We had a mediator.
And are you planning to make more films together? I understand you already made a short film together before this one,
Mhm.
for the long film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
we
we're
yeah,
planning
one-
to make more
yeah,
films
one-
together. Yeah.
Yeah, we still get along.
Yeah.
Okay. And are there any projects you're working on already or plans for the future? More films we can watch later on?
I hope so. I mean, I'm currently writing, and it's part of why I'm out here in the countryside. I'm trying to adapt a Virginia Woolf novel, but taking it from England to Nigeria, and seeing that. Emphasize on trying. It's been 3 weeks of writing, and I'm questioning every decision I've made.
Yeah, I understand that feeling. You question even, is this the right
Yeah.
clothes to wear today?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Exactly. I might have Googled internships for 30, 35-year-olds in banking once or twice. But, yeah.
And you'll be both directing the film?
I hope
That's the
so.
plan? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely the ambition.
Yeah. So it will be in Lagos or Nigeria again.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Yeah, I'm trying to work on sort of a short film project here whilst I'm in New York, and we also have an idea for a short film. I mean, we know that we just want to continue making, and obviously the pandemic has kept us indoors and not on set as much as we would have liked, and so yeah, we're just trying to figure that out, just trying to find a way to make something again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm very much looking forward to watching those feature films and those short films. As I said, I really enjoyed this film. I was just wondering, is it easy for you now to do a tour with the film on some level, virtually, digitally?
It's been good because we've been able to attend all of them,
Yeah.
in a way. I think if it were physical, it would be hard to organize Q&As and getting to discuss the film with everyone. And it's been fascinating because even though there's some questions that obviously naturally occur every time, everybody has their own experience of watching it. So it's been really great to be able to have that so comprehensive an experience in that way. Obviously, we were lucky enough to have a world premiere, a festival, in a physical festival, and bias. Obviously, nothing quite beats sharing it live and in person with people, and you get to interact with audience members, and after the film, individuals asking questions they couldn't get to ask and stuff like that. So it's a very different, and it's a more human, more communal experience. But this way, we have had the opportunity to speak with a much broader range and a much wider range of people, and that's been a blessing. That's been a blessing. Riri.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think also, you know, the other thing is that we wouldn't, on a very simple level, we wouldn't even have met even virtually if we were unable to be there. You know, there wouldn't have been a Zoom to touch in with the curators or you know, people like yourself. So it's great. We're sort of getting FaceTime with everyone at these festivals and understanding, getting a feel for how it's been received, and that's been really nice.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you both could attend the Move Film Festival this year virtually. I'm very happy we could talk about this film. I hope the people enjoyed the film and also the talk. So thanks a lot for this conversation and good luck with all the next projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.